Hi.
Hey, how's it going, Jesse Peterson?
Derek Hatch.
Derek, great to meet with you, man. Go ahead and have a seat.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate you taking the time today, man.
Yeah.
And, let's make something happen. What do you say?
Yeah, no, I'm totally for that. Thank you for meeting with me. And I know both our companies have met in the past, and this is our first meeting, so I just wanted to know what kind of questions you have for me specifically, or what are you hoping to get out of this hopeful relationship in the future?
Sure. I like that, Derek. You're ready to get right on into it, okay? I love it. To be honest with you, we have 200 locations throughout the nation, and we've kept quite a bit of consistency throughout just because it's a chain store. We've got to have that consistency. It's essential. And for the products that we do and for the advertising that we run, consistency is huge. So because of that, this same article that I know that we're at an impasse with right now is in all of those other locations. And it's actually worked really good.
Okay.
Just because given the developers kind of a sense of security, knowing that we're going to do what we do best, which is retail, and you guys can do what you do best, which is real estate. And so honestly, it's worked pretty well, and we haven't had a lot of issues with it. And it's throughout all of our chains.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. Yeah, that is awesome to hear. I have heard, I spoke with my CEOs and other people, they talked about this impasse that they are struggling with. And that is really good to know that other locations have not had issues with those other tenants or those satellite companies or businesses within those strip malls or wherever they're located.
For sure.
And so I am wanting to see what we can do together, what we can brainstorm about. And I really, like you've said, I'm really interested in discount as a tenant in that Mary Mac Works project. Your aggressive marketing and your marketable reputation is something that I'm interested in, I'm intrigued about. And I think with your specific customer target, that will attract a lot of other satellite tenants that would make this specific project profitable in the future. And so I know we've talked about that. I think there's 360,000 square feet total, but discount would be 84,000 square feet. And so I guess I'm curious, what are the other, if you have this information available, what are the other leases like at those other 200 stores? Does it kind of vary, or is it all pretty standard that, yeah, you're in California for 10 years in Los Angeles or something like that? I don't know what your specific leases look like in the past stores you've dealt with. Does that make sense?
Right. I'm with you. We're on the same page here, man. Typically, and here's the thing, I'm actually really glad that you brought that up, because it was brought to my attention just from the other personnel that have worked on the case, that they had actually negotiated, and I guess, not really sure how this slipped through, but a 25-year contract lease. Which for us is just something we don't really do.
Yeah.
Typically we do more of a 5-year.
Okay.
Just because of the nature of where we're at. That's our standard lease period.
Yes.
Throughout all of the stores. And it's worked better for that initial lease. Obviously it doesn't make a lot of financial sense for us to be here today, shut off the lights tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'd lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we're not planning on doing that. You can rest easy on that.
Okay.
That's not going to be the case. But on the off chance that this just isn't the right place for discount, for some reason the location is off, then we have to have an out. We can't be tied down for 25 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I understand that. And I'm not sure what those previous discussions were. So I'm wanting to work with you because I know the retail can change, and this may be your first store in Massachusetts. I'm not sure where your locations are. And it may take a little bit of time to get or understand the customer and local people and what their trends and fads are. And so I'm wanting to see if we can maybe lower that to like a 10 to 15 year lease or something along those lines, or maybe within the contract we could discuss or have something written up that we reevaluate this lease after 5 years and see how you're feeling about this location and see if we can extend that in the future depending on how the profits are coming. Boston's a couple hours away, so that's very close. For profits and people coming and being attracted to that strip mall and in Northwest Massachusetts. But I don't know what kind of questions you have about that specifically, or if you have specific questions for me and what I am wanting to do or what we can work out together.
Sure. Well, I'm sensing a little bit of hesitancy from you on just going down to the 5 years. What's your main concern with that? I mean, obviously, it benefits you as well. You don't want to be stuck with us for 25 years. It's after 5 years we decide it's not a good fit, and we assign someone else in this location for 20 years. It's not really going to benefit you at all.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I guess my hesitancy or kind of my interest in extending that lease is because I'm trying to get, and I have a tentative pension fund person I'm speaking with, and they are willing to finance this project, but they're typically average is 10 years or more. And so I'm hoping with this, with our two brains, that we can come up with an idea that not only we would be able to enter into a relationship and move forward, but that this project doesn't become dead without the finance, if that makes sense, kind of from where I'm coming from. And I'm more than willing to work with you and see what can be done about your specific contract of, I don't know if you're set for soft goods or if you're wanting to look into other aspects or what your flexibility is, but I'm wanting to see with what we can think about to extend that to 10 years at least in order for the project to be financed, if that makes sense.
Sure. Derek, I'm a little bit surprised just because typically the developers we've worked with in the past, 3 to 5 year leases have been completely acceptable. I mean, with a reputable company, they know we sign on and it's been no problem at all. I just find it kind of surprising that they're wanting 10 years out of you guys.
Yeah, and I guess, I mean, I haven't been in those meetings, so I can talk to more people about what their specific interest and why they're wanting to get those 10 years and have it set for 10 years. Have you done anything like that in the past with your stores? Has it always been 5 you've never looked at? Or do you always move at 5 years and move the location, or have you extended those leases in the past? Does that make sense with the other stores?
Right. Oh, we've definitely extended the leases after 5 years if it's a go. But we don't, as a standard, we don't start out with 10 years. I mean, I know that just to be transparent with you, in a couple of locations, I think we've done 7. But even that sometimes is a hard sell for me to the other people, on the board. So really, 10 years is just kind of out of the question for us just because it's just not what we do.
What is the percentage of times you've extended the 5 year to 7 or even more? Does that make sense?
Right. And I would say that we typically will start out with a 5 year, or on the rare occasion that somebody is having some kind of issue, we'll put it at 7. So that's kind of the initial one, is the 5 or 7. And then typically we do extend. I'd say what happens is when you get burnt once, you don't want to touch fire. I think at the beginning we had longer leases, and there were a couple of locations that weren't a go for us. So we've just learned that it's better.
Okay.
And we put the standard at 5 years.
Okay. Is this your first store in Massachusetts?
It is. It is. So
okay.
This is kind of a guinea pig location, if you will.
Yeah. And so what is it, or I guess, what do you think, or what option do you think you could bring to this agreement or potential relationship that could benefit both of us mutually, if that makes sense?
Right. You were saying that you don't know that much about your financing guy, but is 10 years, is it a bust if it's under 10 years?
I don't, not necessarily. Again, I haven't been in those meetings, but as far as I'm aware, that they'd agree or like to have something of 10 years or more with that specific finance, because it is a strip mall area in real estate. They like to have a major anchor tenant in to bring in the other satellite tenants around. And so that's what I think where they're coming from, that they have this strip mall. They think it's a great idea. They want that one tenant, which I talked with my other peers about discount being, because they're so aggressive, they have 200 stores, that they have really made a great name and brand for themselves.
Sure.
And so that has always been interesting. Like, hey, if we could get discount into this location, that would just be so beneficial to both of us in order to have other satellite tenants around there and to attract the customer target that we're looking for soft goods that you sell, for clothing and shoes and stuff like that. I think with the metropolitan area of Boston and the suburbs where we're located, that would just be a huge attraction to our customers. That would make this mall very popular and kind of a hangout for the local teens and area. I've been a Boston native my whole life. I kind of know that area very well. And so I know what those fads are and what those look like. And so that's what I've always been interested in, discounting with their specific market reputation. And I'd have to talk with the finance people, but as far as I know, they like that 10 years or a little bit more. And at 10 years, then we can discuss and see about disbanding that lease or negating it and moving somewhere else or bringing someone else in. That's kind of what I've understood from those conversations that I've heard.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Sure. Derek, I love what you're saying I feel a great partnership coming on between the development here and like I mentioned, we want to come into Boston more. If this location goes well, we're potentially going to open up quite a few stores. And I mean, if you guys are also kind of on this path to start doing malls and larger locations, I feel like this could be more than a one-time deal. So I love hearing what you're saying there, and I love hearing that you're a fan. Obviously, that's like music to our ears. Yeah. So, I mean, if financing is going to be an issue over the potential relationship that we're building here as companies, I'd say, look at the potentials of maybe finding another financing. You know, there's other places to go, and obviously, if we're important to you guys, as from what I'm hearing, maybe look into some other options there. Okay.
No, and that's it. And I've thought about that. I just haven't had the time and energy, or I guess not energy. I just haven't had the time to meet with these people and discuss and look at other research options for these potential financiers for the pension fund. That was just something that someone brought up that they were interested in, that they have something that's tentative, that if we give that 10 years or more, they'd be able to finance the project. So definitely I would be more than willing to speak with my CEOs about looking at other options, because I do really value this potential relationship. I really do see something that's fruitful. Again, Hawkins has been around for 20 years. I'm interested in trying to develop that, my brand a little bit more, the company brand. And so I'm very interested in making this Northwest region very solid and a great, I guess, anchor towards, a great route, and have it branch out to other locations in Boston and even hopefully the rest of the East Coast. What are you interested in with this specific 84,000 square feet? Are you interested in having that? Are you wanting to be here? Or what does this hinge on for you from your viewpoint?
Help me understand what you're asking here as far as what it hinges on.
Yeah, so I guess what is the main thing, the lease of 5 years? Is that what it hinges on? Yes, if you have 5 years, then yes, you'll enter into this agreement and stay at Northwest territory? Or is there other factors that are at play that I'm not aware of that would hinge on making an agreement or walking away, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, honestly, there have been other developers that have approached us in the Boston area, but we've already started negotiating with you guys. We appreciate what you've done with the rent and some of the other things that you guys have been super flexible on. So I would say that it's important for us to have 5 years, and I would say that it's important for us to have that flexibility in subletting and in some ways with the content, for us to be able to be flexible there. Okay. So if those things come together, which we've already discussed a little bit of that, if those things come together, I think that it's a go. Okay. And another side question or hypothetical, what if the agreement is not made? How does that affect you and your company? If an agreement is not made and we both walk away, does that hurt you? Does that affect you so much? Or is it kind of batting a fly away and you move on? Right. So, like I said, we have other
Mm-hmm.
developers in the area that we can go with. So, on the chance that it doesn't work out, I mean, there are some options for us there.
Okay.
We'd like to support you guys, and I understand it's your first project.
Yeah.
Obviously, somebody picked your guys' location. Somebody else in personnel did for a reason. So I support that, and I hope it can be a deal. But I mean, we have to have that flexibility. So if it can't be, we'll have to move on.
And and I am very grateful for your time and for meeting with me. And I am interested in helping you have that flexibility and leeway. I know you're a national brand and a national store with 200 locations, as I've mentioned, you've mentioned. So I want to see if we can move into that category. What, I guess, has the history been of your national brand? Are you changing things and bringing in new products every year? Or is that every 5 years? Or what does that look like? Because I'm more than willing to I mean, you have that 84,000 square feet that you have. And I don't know historically if you cut that in half and have a play area. My only concern, or I guess worry, is that you would bring in a zoo or bring in a carnival or a video arcade, which would somewhat, not I guess tarnish, but change the dynamics and environment of the mall in general because you are the anchor tenant, if that makes sense. So I'm just wondering, historically, what have you done in the past with these sublets, and what companies, how do you screen them and add them to that area, if that makes sense?
Sure. Okay. Time.
Yeah.